Let's get to Matt Maiocco before the NFC title game. Matt Maiocco, NBCS on Twitter, one of the best out there covering the 49ers and a good friend of the show here. Matt, good morning to you. You have followed this team and covered this team for a long time. You've been around Brock Purdy his entire career now, coming out of nowhere to get to where he is. What have you made of the national discourse around him and the way that I guess the national media has treated him after that win over Green Bay this weekend?
Yeah, I don't really get it. I don't understand. It seems like, I don't know, are they saying the same thing about Jordan Love? They aren't, are they?
No.
Yeah, and I mean, Brock Purdy did more to enable his team to win than the losing quarterback, that's for sure. You know, Brock Purdy didn't make a couple of mistakes, bad throws that led to interceptions, including one, that when the team was trying to move down the field to tie the game. No, I don't know what it is. I mean, it could be, I don't know, if maybe just where he entered the league as a 7th-round draft pick makes people jealous, or I don't know. I have no idea. Maybe people are like, oh, I didn't never heard of Brock Purdy before he got to the NFL. So it makes me look bad for not knowing who he was. So I'm just going to ride with the theory that he's not very good. Now, I mean, all that said, he didn't play very well Saturday night, but everybody knows that. But man, I mean, when he had to, he made some of the plays of the game. He did more with his legs than Jordan Love did, and frankly, he did more with his arm than Jordan Love did. And I don't know. I don't get it. If you're around him, it's really hard to come up with anything negative about him because he's such a he just handles himself so well, and from day one, his teammates respected him and really, really love him. And so, I don't know. I have no idea why he doesn't seem to get the credit he deserves, because fans, coaches, and players voted him as the starting quarterback in the NFC. So the people who know, I guess they're the ones who know.
Matt, we played your clip on your 49er overreaction video about, is the play calling actually a liability for the Niners? And we played the audio of you kind of walking through it and why you kind of feel it's a valid thing to be thinking about this week. And we saw that horrific clock management at the end of the first half against Green Bay a week ago. He's such an interesting guy because you can't really argue much against him. The record speaks for itself. When his quarterback is healthy, they are the lead contender in the NFC, if not right in that conversation. They get to this point almost every single season when they're healthy, and yet we all kind of are seeing the same little warts. So, we know he's great. He knows his offense. I want to ask you, you've been covering him a while. What does he just like to cover? What have you learned about Kyle Shanahan? Let's get away from the X's and O's. We know all that. He's brilliant. He grew up in it. But what have you learned about Kyle Shanahan from covering him day in and day out? You had a fun exchange, I thought, in the post game about the throws. What's he like? What have you learned about Kyle Shanahan?
Oh, I mean, he's great to cover. I mean, I've been doing this a long time. He's, I'd say, far and away the best coach to cover. I mean, he's honest. He's real. He will often, he gives you good answers. He and I have had some back and forth through the years, but I think that we have a really good rapport, a good relationship. So I like everything about him. I think he's a great coach. That overreaction piece, can his play calling become a liability? I mean, there are times, when things, when the 49ers offense doesn't click, and, is that his play calling? Is it his, is it just the execution? I mean, let's face it. I mean, they got a lot of weapons on offense, and when they're rolling, man, they are rolling. It kind of goes chicken and egg a little bit. I mean, when the offense is moving the chains and he's dialing it up, I mean, it's just, there are times where they just seem unstoppable. But other times, such as the third quarter of that game and the first possession, I guess, where things aren't clicking. It's kind of tough to pinpoint why it's not happening. But For as great as that offense can be with him calling the plays, there are times when things do get bogged down a little bit and it doesn't seem smooth and it doesn't flow. So, is that his play calling? Is it, he's got a tough challenge as the play designer and the play caller because, there are so many different mouths to feed, right? I mean, whenever he gets the ball to Christian McCaffrey, people are like, boy, what, he's giving the ball to McCaffrey too much. Why doesn't he get Elijah Mitchell in there? And then when he's not, it's like, well, what's he doing? He should be feeding the ball to Christian McCaffrey. What's going on? So, when things aren't going well, it's easy to look at the play caller, and probably more so with the 49ers than any other team, just because there are so many different options. And people will always say, well, this is what they were doing and it wasn't working. Why weren't they doing this instead? This guy is a great playmaker too.
Yeah, it's hard to keep everybody happy.
Matt, victim of your own success.
Exactly. Matt Maiocco, our guest, NBC Sports Bay Area, at Maiocco NBCS on Twitter. On that note, we know this offense is just slightly different when Debo's not out there. He's such a difference maker, ability to run it and catch it. What are we hearing about him, and how are they feeling about him this weekend?
Well, we'll probably know a little bit more today, see if he's out there. I can't imagine he'll be practicing today. The fact that nothing is fractured with the shoulder, obviously a good sign. To me, that means it's more a pain management thing. So that being said, man, it's difficult to imagine him not being out there, but it was enough to keep him out of most of the game, all but 9 snaps of the Saturday night game. So we'll see, but I think we'll have a better idea. Today, the team's scheduled to take the field, I think, around 1 o'clock for practice. So, like I said, I would not expect him to be out there. But it's basically, how he wakes up today and feels. He's feeling better than the arrow's pointing up. If not, where it's going to be a anxious few days here before the team determines, if he's a full go for Sunday or not.
What's the matchup for you, Matt? I think a lot of people feel that the matchup is in the Niners' advantage here, but if we're looking at things, and I know you've looked into the Lions, you've probably seen some Lions stuff when you're not covering a Niner game. What is the matchup for you that you're kind of circling going, can Detroit expose this for San Francisco to make this either uncomfortable or pull off an upset?
Yeah, I would say that when the 49ers have their nickel defense out there, are they attacking? Are the Lions able to attack Ambry Thomas on the outside? The 49ers run defense hasn't been good. It's basically the Lions offense against the 49ers defense, which is kind of crazy to think of because it's been a defense-dominated team, the 49ers have been, and that's been the strength of the team. But the Lions run the ball really well. The 49ers defense has not been great against the run here in the last month and a half. And so if the running game is successful for the Lions, that sets up play action. The pass rush hasn't been getting home, and that could give Jared Goff enough time to get the ball down the field and expose some stuff in the 49ers secondary that's been a weakness. So really, I guess the key would be to stop the run. The run and to get pressure on the quarterback without bringing extra guys. 49ers don't like to blitz, and so if they have to start blitzing, that's not a good sign, but they need Chase Young to get home on the other side, and Nick Bosa will get the double teams, and he'll get his pressures. But they got to get some hits on Jared Goff and make him uncomfortable.
I don't know if fallout's the right word, Matt, but is there any sort of overreaction you think from the organization if they are to lose this weekend? I don't know if quarterback, head coach. Do you think there's anything that comes from it?
I don't think so. I mean, they just signed, head coach and general manager to contract extensions in the, right as the season opened. I mean, this has been a good team for a long time. The organization is running very smoothly. Sure, there'll be tons of disappointment. There will be some roster turnover, but I just can't imagine that they would, do anything drastic. I mean, I think the locker room would not react well to that. So, no, I don't think there's anything. I mean, there's pressure on the team, no question about it, because of the roster that they've put together. But, they got one of the, I think objectively, they have one of the better coaches in the NFL. I'd say, maybe not so objectively. They have, objectively, they have one of the best rosters in the NFL. So, kind of see how this thing goes. But, no, I would not expect them to do anything dramatic and tear it up and go in a different direction if they lose this game.
It's not a Niner-based question, Matt, but here out locally, we follow Justin Herbert rather closely. He's a former Oregon Duck, and the Chargers are looking for a coach. Reportedly, Harbaugh is like at the 1-yard line. We're assuming they're going to sign Harbaugh. That's felt like a done deal since like college football was not even done yet. Can you share any interesting experience that you had covering Jim Harbaugh? Because honestly, Matt, we think he's a great coach. You can't refute it. We also acknowledge he's kind of a big weirdo, and I don't know how Justin Herbert's going to react with some of that stuff. What was an experience you had where you kind of walked away and you went, what was that? What just happened here?
Oh, my gosh. How much time do we have?
Go as long as you want if you're going to give us a good one.
Well, one of my favorite Harbaugh stories is it was the off season. They're moving Alex Boone, who was like, he's a tall guy. He was an offensive tackle. They were moving him to guard. And my question to Harbaugh was, I think I'd just been talking to Boone the day before and asking him about this part of it. And I said, hey, is there any issue or anything with moving a guy who's 6'8" into guard, for the quarterback seeing over him or, something like that. And Harbaugh, as soon as I said 6'8", Harbaugh said, you think he's 6'8"? And I go, I don't know. I've never measured him, but I think he's 6'8". He just told me yesterday he's 6'8". He's like, I don't think he's 6'8". I think he's 6'7". I go, okay. But anyway, the question, he goes, let's bet. Let's bet. If you think he's 6'8", I think he's 6'7". Let's bet on this. And I was like, oh, okay, let's bet. What do you want to bet? I was like, I don't know. And somebody says, bet $5. And he goes, okay, $5. And he sticks his hand out, shakes my hand. Well, then we go into the locker room, and I think I went over and I was talking to somebody else in the locker room, and apparently Harbaugh marches up to Alex Boone and grabs him and says, come on, I want to measure you. And he puts him up against the wall, has this ruler, puts it on there, and he's 6'8". So then someone else who saw it said, hey, you won the bet. I just saw Harbaugh measure Alex Boone. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. So the next day, Harbaugh doesn't say anything to me, but then I say, hey, by the way, I heard I won the bet. And he goes, well, what are you talking about? I heard you measured Alex Boone, and he's 6'8". And he goes, well, no, that's not right, because I had a ruler, and the ruler was kind of pointing up because I was coming in from that angle. So I don't know that he was 6'8" or not. And I was like, are you freaking kidding me? You're even competing on whether Alex Boone is 6'7" or 6'8". And so then later, someone who works really close with him, I said, I can't believe Harbaugh. He's refusing to acknowledge that I won the bet. And he goes, you know how you lose a bet to Jim Harbaugh? And I said, how's that? He goes, you win the bet against John Harbaugh. He will hold it against you forever.
Wow. And he almost breaks your hand shaking it on the bet, right? Like he just grabs it like really intensely and almost breaks your hand on that bet shake, right?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Yeah, no doubt about it. So that was when he said that it was inconclusive because the angle of the ruler was pointing up, and therefore it wasn't an accurate read. That was the last he and I ever spoke of the $5 bet of how tall Alex Boone was.
Couldn't pay off a $5 bet.
If we ever get Jim Harbaugh on the show, I'm going to say you owe Matt Maiocco $5, and he has not forgotten about
Alex Boone is
and the interest on that $5 has only gone up over the last handful of years.
Sure he remembers it, but if he does, he will tell you that no, that wasn't an accurate reading.
That is so
it was inconclusive.
The least surprised person about Connor Stallions being a story was probably Matt Maiocco.
The guy will do whatever it takes to win. Matt Maiocco, NBC Sports Bay Area. Go give him a follow on Twitter at Maiocco NBCS. Thanks so much for the time, man. Enjoy covering another NFC Championship game. We always appreciate it, and hopefully we can do it again soon.
All right. Always my pleasure. Have a good weekend, guys.
You too. Matt Maiocco.
What a freaking weirdo.
Jim Harbaugh, man. He's one-on-one.
I know you and everybody else, and rightfully so, are all in on that if that happens, Harbaugh to the Chargers. I am holding a little reservation. He's been out of the NFL. He was at Michigan for 8 seasons.
Long time.
Way longer than people thought.
Yeah.
He's a weirdo. And sometimes weirdos don't get more normal. They get more weird.
He seems to be going in that direction.
And, hey, welcome back to the NFL, a different sport than even when you coached it. Is your quarterback going to get along with this? I don't know, but he's definitely one of the more weirdo coaches I think we've had.
I think it's what Brandon Staley will do it yet. Makes you desperate and you're willing to look past weirdness, and we'll see if the Chargers get that deal done today.